All right, so your home plate once again, you need to graph g of x equals to the absolute value of x using the domain -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, and you're doing that in pencil. The transformations, make sure you do those in pen with different color indicators there. Okay. So with that said, our objective for today is I can transform a function using different parameters. Once again, I can transform a function using parameters, different parameters. So today we don't need a FAIR model because by now you already know it by memory, right? And plus it's a mini day today, yes? So you know how to fill that out on yourself, by yourself, and you have the definition, example, non-example, hashtag. However, I did have a quick review on parameter. What is a parameter? We've been seeing that already from yesterday and today, how a number that changes a function into another function, that number is called a parameter, right? And then we started with linear equations, bless you, and I said if we were to fill out an input-output table, here it is. What do we do with the x values? The x values go in here. We do the function, and then we get that out. But now instead of writing it in y form, we use what? Function notation. So it should look how? F of x and f of x. So that's why we write it like this in function notation. So from there, so still some of you that are struggling with this, look up. What does this mean, Mr. Q? What this means is this, that this is a function. Okay, so instead of x here, what am I going to substitute first? -2, -2, and say, some of you are like, why are you doing it here, Mr. Q? Just to indicate what number you're working on. So what number am I working on right now? -2, so f of -2. So what is 3 times -2? -6 minus 1. So f of -2 equals -7, and that's how we get this. We leave it as that because it's a function of the x values. All right? Yes, Mr. Q. All right, good. So from there, I said the book introduces the new transformation by adding a column. You guys remember that? And some of you got a little confused, but I was like, no, look at it like this. This is f of x, which means all of these numbers are what? F of x. So this is saying take f of x and add 5. So I take my first f of x, which is what? -7 plus 5, that's -2. Next number is -4 plus 5, that's +1, and so on and so forth. But I said, you know what? I don't like this presentation. I like to create individual input-output tables, and we created these. Remember this? And I had you graph all 3 of them. So let me graph the original function in black. I'm going to graph this one, this here. So it goes somewhere about right there. There it is. All right. So if I was to ask you to graph f of x plus 5 and then f of x minus 2, tell your neighbor what you would do to this first f of x. Tell your neighbor, please. What's going to happen to this f of x? All right. So I heard some of you, and you said, well, since the plus and the numbers outside the parentheses, that means that this one's going to go up 5 steps. Which means that if this one has a number outside the parentheses and it's -2, that means it's going to go what? Down 2 steps. So you take the whole line, move it up 5 steps, or the line down 2 steps. Are we there so far? And we did some home play last night about that. So let's see how well you remember. Lock your toolbar. And I want you to graph me the green function here and also the red function there. Yes. Yes, it's fine. Graph those there and send. You got 40 seconds. Ready? Go. You don't need to use the your graphing paper. You can do that on the screen. All right, so let's see. Here's all of them all together. Let's see. Yeah, pretty much, right? We got it, yes? All right. So with that said, copy this down, please. G of x equals f of x plus k. G of x equals f of x plus k. Now, some of you are saying, why are we writing this, Mr. Q? Because in order to do transformations for functions, there's an actual formula to use. But the formula has a lot of parts. So right now I'm starting with some small parts, one at a time. Then I'm going to start putting them together, kind of like the Transformers, or is that it? Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Were there like Transformers before that you put like the one on top of the other? Never mind. So, however, some of you still see this a little bit intimidating, so let me break it down for you. Ready? Look up. Whenever you see a function starting with g of x, this indicates that it's a new function. It's a new function. It was created from an old function. Now it's a new function. Within here, you're going to see probably f of x, which indicates that this is the original function. Which means the last part is known as what, everyone? Parameter. That is correct. And what does the parameter do? It does something to the function. So, in this case, if you were to send this snap or whatever, you kick it or you WhatsApp it or whatever it is you're going to do to your BFF that was absent, what would you tell them k does to a function? What does k do? Tell your neighbor, please. What does it do? Let's see, Ramon, go. It transforms. So what would you say, how does it transform? Okay. Josh, help him out. What would you write? Very good. That if you have a positive number, it moves the function which way? Up. And if it's a negative number, it moves the function which way? Down, whichever number of steps it indicates. Okay? Pretty simple? Yes, Mr. Q, we love these. All right, good. Next, get your graph paper in front of you. Oh, send a gopher for graph paper. You're up here. All right. Huh? No, I have others, yeah. All right, look up, guys. So, one of the graph papers, I don't want you to copy the instructions. I just want you to write f of x equals x squared. That's the function we're using. I want you to copy this table, the one in black underneath, and right next to it, I want you to copy the green table. And we'll fill the black one together, or if you want to go ahead, that's fine. Because I want to elaborate a little bit more on the on this transformation, because I still have some of you having problems with it. You're copying the black table and the green table. All right. So let's see. As you're copying, the function tells us that what are we doing to x? We're what? Squaring x. So I'm going to start with this one. So what is negative 2 squared? That means negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. Negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. 0 squared is 0. 1 squared is 1. And 2 squared is 4. Let's plot those. So we get negative 2, 4, which is right there. Let me zoom in so you can see it. Negative 1, 1. 0, 1, and 2, 4. Okay? And let's graph our function. There it is. Now, I know it's not going to, yours is not going to come out as pretty as mine, but just try. There it is. Okay? All right. And I'm going to label that. This is our original one. What do we label it? F of x. Yes, that's our original function. Okay? All right, so yesterday when I started the transformation for this one, I did most of the work in our Noodle, and I went a little bit fast because I was just believing that you were following along. But I still sense a disturbance in the force. So writing utensils down, look up to the screen. Here it goes. Look up, please. Ready? Here it goes. So I'm going to zoom in. First of all, to remind us, what is the rule that we're doing? We're squaring the x. Is that correct? Multiplying it times itself. However, now the transformation tells us to do something to x before we do anything else. You're saying, what does that mean, Mr. Q? That this one doesn't have the plus or the minus outside the parentheses, it has it inside. So let me read it to you. This says x minus 5. So what is my first x value? So what is negative 2 minus 5? Negative 7. But what is the overall rule? We square it, yes? So what is negative 7 times negative 7? 49. That is correct. I'm going to write them on the side so you guys can have them as reference. Next one, negative 1. So instead of x, I substitute negative 1. What is negative 1 and negative 5? Negative 6. And if we square that, that's what? 36. Next, 0. What is 0 minus 5? Negative 5. And if we square that, that gives us 25. I'll give you some time so you can fill in the rest of it by yourself. See how you do. Ready? Go. Copy and go. All right, let's see. Jordan, what's our next value here when x is 1? 16. Hands if you got that. That is correct because we get 1 minus 5 is negative 4. We square that, that gives us 16. Next one, Daniel. When x is 2, you get what? 9. And how do you get that? What is 2 minus 5? Negative 3 squared, that gives us 9. Now, hopefully, you're starting to see a pattern. Look up. Negative 7, negative 6, negative 5. So what would be our next value here? Negative 2 squared, which is 4. Next value. Negative 1 squared, which is 1. Next one. 0 squared, which is 0. 1 squared, which is 1. 2 squared, which is 4. Okay? I want you to graph only from domain 3 to 7. Only this part. Domain 3 to 7. And we're doing that in green. So, 3, 4. 3, 4, which is right there. Yes? Say it again? Yeah, we can use that, but are we going to have room for 49? This one too? Because since we only plotted 5 points here, I want to keep it with 5 points only. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So this is 4, 1, 5, 0, 6, 1, and 7, 4. And what do we label this one? G of x, since it's not the original, G of x. And we do f of, what was the transformation? X minus 5. Does that make sense? Yeah? Yeah, right? All right. So now check this out. You guys know that I like drones, yes? I have a bunch of them over there, but I also have another one that I bought. It's a 4K drone. It records on 4K. And if I wanted to go a little bit faster, then it records at 1080p, which is still good, at 60 frames per second. So let's say I wanted to go out to the football field and I said, I'm going to pick 5 people to have you guys create the parabola, the original f of x. You guys see this f of x? How many people do I need? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so far so good? So I call Pao, Carlo, Perla, Ramon, Lauren, and Josh. So them 5 are going to make the parabola. Are we there? And the rest of us, we're going to be sitting in the bleachers. And here's the rule. I'm going to be flying my drone because I want to take an aerial view of the parabola. So can you picture them standing there like this? All right. We're over here in the stands. Okay. And I'm going to give you guys the rule g of x equals f of x minus 5. But you cannot give this to these people. You can only tell them what to do from where they're at to create the new function. There it goes again. They're standing here, and you need to make this one. Think about it. What directions will you yell from the bleachers for them to create the new parabola? Tell your neighbor, please. What would you yell to them, please? Jake, what would you say? 5 steps right. Hands if you agree with that. Okay, what if I said, okay, now go back to your original spot, so they go back, there it is, and I said, and I gave you guys g of x equals f of x minus 10. Tell your neighbor what would you yell from the bleachers to do for the new one. Everyone. 10 steps right. And so on and so forth. So what can we conclude? That if we have inside of the parentheses a negative number, what does that tell us to do? Tell your neighbor. Always go to the what? To the right. Therefore, without building an input-output table, I want you to show me, look up, right there on your graph paper, on the same one, I want you to do this transformation using the original f of x. Think about it. What would you yell to the people on the field to do this transformation there? 30 seconds. Go. Copy that and go. So that is correct. So what can we conclude? If inside the parentheses we have a negative number, it goes which direction? Right. And if it has a positive number, it goes which direction? Left. We got this, yes? Show me your fingers how comfortable you feel with this. 5 4s, 5 3s, 4s, 5 4s. Okay. Let's see you practice this by yourself. I'm sending you a screen like the toolbar. And I want you to graph the green function and the red function there. You have 40 seconds. You don't need to do it on paper. Do it on the screen. Ready, go. Check your work. Okay, before we move on, once again, tell them why the red one is there and why the green one is there. Talk with your neighbor. Why is the red one there and the green one there? Okay? All right. Now, what I did see some of you put some of them going up and some going down, but that's only when the number is where? Outside of the parentheses. All right? So write this down. G of x equals f of x minus h in parentheses. Anywhere? So once again, do we know what g of x stands for? Yes, that's a new function. But then here we have f of x, but now it's no longer in the original because now they give us a function to do. So what do we call the letter h, everyone? Parameter. That is correct. Parameter. You're saying, is it called the same thing as the other letter? Yes, because it's doing something to the function. Okay? But who notices that this now has in the formula a negative there that doesn't move? That's already there. So be careful because this does something to the variable. Watch. If I substitute a positive number in here, think about it. I'm going to substitute a positive number. Don't I end up with something like this? X minus 23. Positive 23 goes in there, it stays and it becomes a negative, right? So question, if I substitute a positive number into this formula, which direction do I go? To the right, that is correct. Put R for right. So that means if I substitute a negative number, let's see what happens. What is negative times a negative? Positive, so this becomes x plus 23. Which direction do I go? We go to the left. That is correct. So far, so good? Lastly, here we go. Before we close shop, look up, please. Now I'm going to combine both functions in one. Ready? Copy this. Hold on, before we leave, copy this. Copy this. Now check this out. Does everybody see how I combine both of them into one? Do we know what this does? It moves it from what? Left or right. What does the K do? Up and down. We got it, yeah? All right, so your home plate, make sure you do that that one problem. Okay, if you need graph paper, take some. Have a good one, guys. Enjoy your meany day. Don't eat so many donuts or Johnny's burritos. See you guys tomorrow. Bye. Help me put away the iPads on your way out, please. Thank you. Appreciate it.